It is a pretty big day because we have the Ruger American Gen 2. Ruger American's one of the most popular guns in the industry, and so when that gun updates, you know we're going to be reviewing that one. It looks like they've done some interesting things, but there are also some things... Oh, shoot. Don't mind me.
Take it back.
No, I need it. We need to make a recoil pad for it. All right, we calmed Emily down a little bit. Feeling calm now, Em?
Well, I don't really like doing this.
She's even agreed.
No, I do. I'm a happy helper.
You are a happy helper. All right, what is this thing? This is the Ruger American Gen 2. I've just now scoped it up. So we got to set the stage a little bit. We're going to go out into the field because I want to shoot this thing. I have not yet pulled the trigger on this. But we got to understand what this is. So this is the Ruger American Gen 1 that we all know. When this channel started, you know, whatever, 3 years ago, this gun was $350 and it was accurate almost every one. And so it made a lot of noise in the industry for many years. The Ruger American has been extremely, extremely popular because they're cheap and they're reliably accurate. But I'll tell you what they aren't reliably. They aren't guns that reliably feed.
They aren't reliably. Okay.
I don't know. I'm working through this. All right. They just don't feed. They're terrible. We have lost deer on hunts where we just couldn't get a cartridge in. Sometimes the mag will get pushed up too far and will catch. It just created problems. And so they nailed the price, they nailed the accuracy, they missed on the feeding and just the fit and finish. It's a cheap gun, but it's so cool for what it is. Now, I stopped talking about the Ruger American for like the last 2 years. I've barely mentioned it on the channel. Why? Because of the CVA Cascade. CVA Cascade was, you know, $100 more, and it gives you Cerakote, just a nicer fit and finish, still shoots accurately, but it actually feeds. And so that's kind of been my low budget CVA Cascade. But now, just a week or two ago, the Ruger American Gen 2 was announced. And holy cow, from the looks of things, they have knocked 90% of this out of the park. So they took the stock that has a very similar stock lines detail, but they put this kind of vomit paint job on it, which vomit. It looks really nice. It's good looking vomit. It's like it's a gray base coat and then just very heavily textured with splatter. It looks pretty good. It looks like it could go on a more expensive firearm. I think they did a nice job with that. You know, working in the price point they are, it looks good. They give you an adjustable comb. Well, it's not adjustable. You can get accessory cheek pieces to go higher with it. A new recoil pad that we're definitely going to talk about. The magazine is better, and we have now a 3-position safety, spiral fluting on the bolt, and Cerakote. They have dressed this thing up nicely. And so it looks to me like any kind of firearm in this price point has a big problem in competing with the Ruger American, but that's just talk. Those are just specs. We got to get out into the field. And first question I want to ask is, does it feed? Because if it doesn't feed, it doesn't go hunting, period, end of story. And then, of course, we'll test the accuracy, see if they are doing that well there, and just see if this is the new Budget King. While we're driving out there, quick channel update. So 2 things. First is, Emily and we've recorded every video that's on the channel. It's been us who's edited everything, and it's come time that we really need to hire a videographer. The reason we need that is because we're spending so much time on backstop. The feedback with the backstop recoil pad has been so positive. It's been awesome. The support you guys have had has been just incredible. And so anyway, we need a little bit of time, so we need to hire a videographer. Backfire.tv/video. And hopefully we can get somebody great. All right, loading up the mag the first time. So it's a double stack mag, but it's not rotary. You know, it's not the big wide one that they're kind of going crazy on. And this one is in 223. Now they have a few cartridges available right now at launch. The long action stuff, especially 7 PRC, is coming Q1 of 2024. So like imminently, they're gonna have this gun in 7 PRC. That is pretty cool, as well as 6.5 PRC and other options, 300 Win Mag. So Ruger's always been pretty good about having a wide variety. We'll see. Here's our first test, seeing if this thing will feed. We're just getting sighted in here. Hey, first one. It's looking good so far, but we'll see when we put it through the gauntlet. This scope, by the way, is the Vector Optics 4-16 by 44. And boy, it's a pretty full-featured scope. Has your side parallax and the locking caps and your illumination. Really well-priced scope. I'm liking it so far. Oh my gosh. That is crazy accurate. I'm not very steady. Zoom back so you can show. Okay, I wasn't gonna show this in the video, guys, but look at, this is our front rest. We're using my ground blind. We went ice fishing this weekend and it was in the truck and we forgot a front bag. So we got this like not steady at all spot, and I'm shooting a one-hole group with the new Ruger American. This is awesome. This stock, however, sucks for shooting prone. We gotta talk about that in a second. Let me put a couple more into this. The action is really smooth. Also, another nice thing about it, especially because it's a 3-lug system, is you kind of can't get off axis. You know, sometimes it'll get stuck in the back if you're not going straight on with a 2-lug. This one, it just always goes forward no matter how poorly you address that bolt. Really nice action. It's pretty smooth, and the famous zipper sound from the Ruger American.
I love that.
You know the sound?
Yeah.
Usually when you're pulling back, it's like zzz, 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 zzz. This is what the Ruger American sounded like.
Jim! I don't think, I guess I have ear pro in. I can't
YouTube,
hear it.
I don't know. I'm feeling weird today. Oh. Anyway, action's doing good. Let me show you this group though. So look at this. That is 3 shots all touching from 100 yards. That's my very first group. Obviously it's just a 3-shot group. We're gonna have to shoot more, and I'm adjusting the sight here. But that is really promising. Let's shoot another couple groups and see what we can do. Today's video is sponsored by this jacket from Tidewee. I've been loving this thing because it has a power bank in right here that you put in a little pocket. And then I've modeled several different styles for you guys in the past, but this one is nice because it's fleece. It's pretty lightweight. You don't get crazy hot when you're going in a store or something, but when you're out here for your outdoor adventures, when it gets a little bit colder, you just turn it on and you can cycle through different heat settings, kind of feel it in your elbows, front and back, to get you warmer and colder. So you don't have to wear a bunch of different layers. You can just turn on your jacket. I've never used the electronic jackets until this year, but they are really nice to use. So Tidewee is a company that has supported Backfire for a while. The cool thing about them is they're making high quality, like good stitching and materials on everything, but they're doing it at a reasonable price. They have all kinds of different styles of hunting jackets, so check them out at tidewee.com. That's Tidewee for your next hunting jacket. We're shooting off snow boots. I ain't gonna be the right height though. Let's see if we can, I think we can pull off a decent group. I mean, it was 1 hole though. Wow. All right, we just shot 3 groups in a row. We had that 3-shot group, everything was touching, 1 hole. I'm shooting literally off my kids' snow boots after our ice fishing trip. And let me show you these groups. That is nuts. Okay, so before you see this, I should mention this is in 223. It's always easier to get the lighter cartridges to shoot better. It just doesn't exacerbate the problems of a gun. These are the 2 groups. Whoops, sorry. I intentionally moved my scope off because if I put the holes here, then you kind of lose your aiming point. This is a $600 gun that is putting everything in 1 hole. Yeah, that's 0.47 with the SIG Marksman ammo, 0.44. And then on this one, holy cow. I'm not, you know, your competition measurer here, but whatever, about 0.35. That is 3 groups, all touching. That's incredible. It's incredible what you can get with a $600 gun these days. I am curious to see what the heavier hitting cartridges are going to do in terms of accuracy, but like I said in the beginning, Ruger has never had an accuracy problem. Their guns have always been accurate. The problem has been the feeding, and they seem to have fixed it. This is going to turn the screws on the manufacturers making guns that are in the $700, $800, $900, $1,200 price point, because look what you can get for $600. That's pretty cool.
So your purchase was worth it?
My purchase was worth it, honey.
Dang
I'm
it.
telling you. I'm thrilled with that. Like, that is awesome to see that from a gun this cheap.
I have a lot of other things to buy with $600.
Yeah, but if you bought lipstick, could it make holes in a piece of paper from 100 yards away? It couldn't.
Probably not.
Could
could
not
draw
do it.
those holes.
So the stock, though, you'll see as I'm shooting prone, and we have a weird setup today, but when the gun was first released and I saw the pictures of it, my first response was very negative on Twitter. I said, you know, we'll see what happens when we shoot it, but why did they pick that stock design? So they went with an old school Monte Carlo style stock that has this big swoop up from the heel up to the top of the comb. And that's great because it lifts your eye a little bit closer so that you're seeing down the gun. It was actually, you know, this is really a design for trap guns where you really want it to be in line with that rail, right? Well, if you do something like this on a bolt action rifle, what it means is when I go down to shoot in prone, the butt pad is non-existent. It's just gone because it's so low. Often when you're shooting prone, you're really not going all the way to the bottom of the stock. You're usually, you know, focused a little bit higher on it, and so this just drops it down pretty far, and so that's a little bit annoying there. I wish they wouldn't have gone with that, but hey, it's shooting great. All right, let's talk about the recoil pad. So when I first saw this, I thought, whoa, that's cool, because it appears to be, you know, have nice big cavities in here to compress. That's not quite the case. So there's a hard section right in the middle, and so the sides really squish.
Sorry.
See, when we have a videographer that we hire, he's not going to just cough.
No, he won't sneeze.
He's not a sneezer. All right, so on the sides, you can see it squishes like really, really easy on the sides, but in the middle, it doesn't compress at all. I'm editing this video and I didn't explain this part very well on camera. Basically what I'm saying is because the sides cave in too easily and the middle is really, really rigid, when you measure that with like a heat map like we do for testing the recoil pads, it puts a high pressure spot in that one area because it's taking the same force but condensing it now to just the hardest part there. And so on the backstop recoil pad, it actually matches the buttstock, but then it flares out so that you get the widest surface area possible on the shoulder. The other thing is you'll see on this one that it's kind of has that semicircle shape on there to kind of match a shoulder. A lot of recoil pads do that. That actually makes the recoil worse on the gun because it makes more contact on the shoulder during that initial phase, and so it makes it harder to compress, and so it spikes up and causes that scope to bounce. The backstop recoil pad is flat so that it kind of, as you're pressing into more and more and more of the pad, it's like a second way to slowly increase that pressure, and so you get that more nice gentle curve of the recoil signature. But you know, that's just me. I just kind of obsess about these. There will be a backstop pad for the Ruger American Gen 2 and Gen 1. All right, we got to test the feeding of this. So I haven't had any problems actually shooting, but I try to do this in a little bit of a structured way as I'm testing feeding with different guns so that we can just try different things, because there are so many guns that work right when you do everything perfectly, but then when you're in a rushed kind of hunting situation, if you have a little pressure on the magazine or if it's tilted a weird way, you can run into problems. And I want to try different angles and things. No problem. Hey, see if it'll feed upside down. No problem. You can't stop this thing. It's feeding everything. So I've been using the SIG Marksman ammo, and that's what it shot those groups with. I also have the Varmint Express that I'm just trying a few different cartridges. There is no feeding problem here. I haven't even mentioned because I don't often use, but it has a 3-position safety. Right now we're on fire. You can see red, so push to fire, like really pretty much every safety works. But you can go into the 2nd position. In the 2nd position, you'll see that the gun is still locked. I can't fire, but I can open the bolt. So you have your hunting day, you have a cartridge in the chamber. You can push it onto safe when you open the bolt. It's fine. A lot of people really love it and feel like that's an essential feature. To me, it doesn't feel unsafe to have the gun on fire when I'm opening the bolt. It doesn't seem like a big deal to me, but some people really love it. And then your 3rd position will go all the way down. And your 3rd position, you're locking the bolt. You can't do anything. You can't pull the trigger and you can't open the bolt. The accuracy is insanely great, but it doesn't mean it's equal to more expensive guns. And so I do want to highlight a few of the problems. One is I really don't like that angle here of the heel. It's just so much lower here that shooting prone is kind of annoying. The second thing, you still have a plastic trigger guard. I mean, mine's never broken, but it does just kind of feel cheap. My biggest complaint of everything, though, is the trigger. The trigger feels like it's still a Gen 1 trigger, and everything else feels Gen 2. There is a ton of travel in that trigger. In fact, it takes me a much longer time to shoot groups with this. When you have a really nice trigger, you can fire off a group pretty quickly. But I found that, you know, I'm increasing pressure, and it's just still moving. And like, you know, you kind of run out of breath and you're like, oh shoot, now I got to back off, breathe a couple times, and then kind of finish the squeeze. So I really don't like the trigger. Good news is there are a lot of aftermarket triggers, but you know, it's going to be increased cost. So the trigger is my #1 complaint here. I'm pretty sure it's the same trigger. There's a lot of creep, a lot of travel in that trigger, but hey, you can shoot it accurately, just not very quickly is what I'd say. Then the next thing is another one that can impact accuracy. And that's really, there's so many things with accuracy that you can't say they will always make a difference, but they have the potential to mess things up. So look closely here in this barrel channel. You'll see on the left side between the barrel and the stock, there's a generous free float. But on the right side, it's pretty much touching there. And there's a lot of movement in that stock. I barely have to push on this forend to get the stock, the forend, to push up and contact that barrel. You really don't want that, because if it sometimes is contacting the barrel and sometimes not contacting the barrel, then you could definitely have a flyer. Now, having said that, I'm shooting off a crazy rest here and it's shooting fine, but you never know when it's, you know, the heat of the moment in a hunt, you're on a bipod, kind of twisted off a little bit on the side and it kind of twists it, contacts the barrel, and you have a weird flyer issue. And so I do wish we would have got a more generous free float like they do on the Ruger American Go Wild series. They just have a huge free float there, and I really feel like they shouldn't have tried to cut it so close when they know there's going to be some warping and twisting with the plastic stock that we have. The pistol grip here is decent. It's about the same geometry as on the Gen 1. You know, if you're reaching up to the trigger, you're kind of at a 45-degree angle. It's not great, especially with the heavier trigger. I do just wish they would have pushed that grip just forward a little bit. Then also when you're shooting prone, you know, if you have your hand coming back, by having this capped pistol grip that has this kind of deep horn here, sometimes that'll dig into your hand here. And so this geometry here and here is just an older style that I wish they would have updated a little bit. Now, the reason the swivel is embedded here is you twist the swivel about 5 times, and that's how you change this here. They also have a swivel up here. Again, something that really all the companies should be updating, going to QR flush cups and Arca rails, but it's again one that we didn't get, but it does come with an attached Picatinny rail, which is going to save you a little bit on your rings. So overall, Ruger American Gen 2, it is a home run. It is a home run. I mean, these are pretty minor things that I'm whining about here. This is an incredible gun for whatever, $600-ish. That is dang impressive. I think this is the gun that's going to change the market over the next few years, because again, it's gonna be pretty tough to sell some of these $800, $900, $1,000, $1,200 guns when this is out there. And so anyway, 3-position safety, it's cool to have. It's just got all the features. This is definitely the one to get for 2024. I'm impressed.